Hello, everyone. Oh, you know what? It's on the wrong camera. Hang on. Come on. Oh, I had plugged it in. That's why. That could be the problem. Aha. There we go. Now it's on the better camera. Save. And hello, Andrew Espig. Espeg. Did I get it right? Apparently, I'm not getting many things right as far as name pronunciations lately. Let me get that lower third off. There we go. And Dr. Steph will be joining us shortly. That's her lovely window in the background. And Miami Rick should be here soon, hopefully. My mouth is clicking again. Yeah, we're just trying to catch up with the incredible long list of feedback, and so we did that special feedback extra episode last night. What did I just do? Yeah, we were up pretty late. I think like 1 o'clock in the morning, but we knocked out a bunch of feedback, so that's good. Got my other glasses on here that don't reflect as much as these. Okay, I got a trip tomorrow. So does Rick, and so we're going to probably not do a full 3-hour show tonight. It'll be more like the news and a little bit of feedback probably, and then we'll finish it up most likely on Wednesday is what we're planning to do. So, and I have two-day trips this week. I leave tomorrow, back on Wednesday, so I'll be back here again for the continuation of this week's show on Wednesday, and then I go back out on Thursday, and then I get back in on Friday, and I head out to leaving from the airport. I'm going to meet my family, and we're going to head out to California for my sister's funeral. So, yeah, so I'm trying to get this out of the way as soon as I can this week, so that I can concentrate on all the more important things toward the end of the week and have it all ready to go and publish on Friday. Hello, Steph. I was just talking to the people in the chat room.
Yeah, keep going. I'm fixing all my stuff here.
Okay. So I was just telling them that I'm not sure how long we're going to go tonight, but we're going to at least talk about the news and maybe a little bit of feedback before we shut it down. I'm going to probably wait, and when somebody calls for me to come to dinner, that's probably when I'm going to cut it off.
Okay.
So.
Oh, I have an echo.
Do you?
Yeah.
Okay. Start talking.
Okay. Talking. Still hear it. Do you guys hear the echo? Yeah.
Keep
Jeff
going.
says big echo. Okay, less echo now. Better. Why does that happen?
It's just the system takes a while to sense the feedback coming in, and it compares it with the feedback or your voice going out, and it goes, oh, okay, I should cancel that.
Okay. So I'll just start saying a whole lot every time I start talking.
Keep talking.
Keep talking. Don't shut up.
Constantly.
Keep going.
Even if I'm talking or Rick's talking, you just keep on talking.
Keep going through it.
Get the dictionary, start reading.
Yeah, I could do that.
Or the yellow pages. Do they still have the yellow pages?
Oh, I don't know. Actually, you know what? They do, because every once in a while I get one in my mailbox or on the doorstep. But usually I keep they usually give you two. They give you the big one, and I just throw that right in the recycle bin, and then there's a little one. Mm-hmm. And I always keep that in the car, just in case. I don't know. I haven't used one in,
in case you need some yellow pages in the car.
Just in case. I don't know.
Doesn't everybody do that? Where am I flying to tomorrow? I am going from here to LaGuardia in the morning. I guess we have like a 7-something departure to LaGuardia, and then LaGuardia to Fort Lauderdale, and then we van from Lauderdale over to Miami, and then I get to see Miami. No, he's not going to be there. He's leaving tomorrow morning early, so not going to meet up with Rick this time.
You still see my video? Neville said, "Where'd my video feed go?"
Oh, I know why. I now.
Did you get rid of me?
Yeah.
Okay.
No, I didn't get rid of you. I just
like no one needs to see
myself.
stuff.
So people could still see you in the bottom, I think. In the
Okay.
Small.
Oh, it just doesn't switch.
Yeah. So now it's automatically switching.
Okay.
Sorry. Can I tag along? I'm ready for a trip. Sure, Chris. Come on. Come on with me. I think they missed you for our feedback extra last night. Several people said, "Where's Steph?"
Oh, really? That's nice.
And then, of course, we told them that because you didn't invite us to come to Chicago and have a nice dinner with you last night, we were gonna, just take it out on you and do.
All right, I'll take all the abuse today. It's fine. Oh, do a show. Yeah.
Yeah.
Very nice. Well, mission accomplished, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, it was a great dinner too. It was really, really good.
Where'd you go?
I'm not even going to remember the name of the place. We just looked it up on Open Table like last minute. We're like, what's near this hotel?
Mm-hmm.
And one of my brothers wanted sushi, so we ended up getting sushi, and it was fantastic. It was very good. Yeah.
Sounds good. I'm starving. My stomach is probably going to start making noise.
I'm going to try and open my I was going to make noise for a minute while I open my granola bar deal here.
Okay.
Just have it to snack on. Hold on. There we go. But yeah, this was wow. I had so much food this weekend. I'm just gonna be in a food coma for the next week. I'm pretty sure.
For the rest of the week.
Yeah. There was deep dish pizza and Italian beef and hot dogs and sushi and wedding food and cake and all the old style you'd ever want to consume in your life. It's terrible beer.
Sounds good.
Yeah. But yeah, it was great.
Oh, okay. Joe says that the small video preview windows at the bottom are not appearing here. So I'm seeing them. Maybe it's because Steph and I are both in the Hangout, and you're not seeing it because there's just two of us. So when Rick shows up, I bet you'll see.
Oh, then there'll probably be
videos at the bottom.
He's still doing domestic things.
I don't know what he's doing. We said we were going to do this at 6 o'clock.
Oh, see, and I didn't know what time you were doing it. I had no idea.
You knew.
No, I didn't.
No, he did.
Oh, he knew. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, I had no idea.
Well, we were trying to keep it a secret from you, but you found out.
I know you failed. I was like, oh, an email to join this. I should probably wrap up what I'm doing. I was just trying to get all my bag unpacked, laundry done, get ready for tomorrow.
Did you go back to work today?
No, I just got home at like 4 o'clock.
Oh, cool.
Yeah.
So back to work tomorrow?
Back to work tomorrow. I don't have any days off until Thanksgiving.
Yeah.
So it'll just be a lot of work, and then I've got some time off in December, so looking forward to that.
Cool. Me too. Yeah. Let's see. Okay, Rick. Or
hold on, I should probably get Evernote up here.
Yeah, that might be a nice idea.
Might be helpful.
Let me make sure I have everything ready to go.
I've got my drinking a white zombie white ale, getting ready for Halloween.
Nice.
White zombie. There it is.
I'm not drinking anything.
Oh.
I'm not. That's probably really the reason. But hey, today is an important day. Today is October 26th, the day that Sierra Nevada releases their Celebration Ale, which is a Christmas beer,
Yeah.
According
do you think the guy at the tap room knows that?
No
chance. He had no clue.
So yeah, poor kid. Had no idea.
No. That's all right.
Yeah. I had a really good beer. Green Flash. You've heard of that brewery out in San Diego area. And when I was in Des Moines, the co-pilot and I found this place called the. Did I already talk about this? The something El Bait Shack or something like that.
I have not heard it.
Okay, and they had this beer. I don't know if it's just a limited release thing or if it's a regular lineup, but I think it was to
Hmm.
raise money for breast cancer awareness,
Okay.
and it's called Treasure Chest, and it was really tasty, kind of a grapefruity kind of hoppiness to it. Nice.
Wait,
Nice.
who's Fruity?
Oh, speaking of fruity, finally.
You walked right into that one.
Yeah.
Wait, the thing is that I went to this other link, and I was there for a while just by myself, and I was like, wait a minute, why isn't anybody showing up?
What other link?
I only got one link.
Well, you sent 2 emails. I got 2 links here.
Maybe the one that I sent last night?
No, because that one didn't say 192.
I only have one link.
That's weird.
Just one.
Just Uno? That's weird. Well,
Yeah.
I don't know what you're talking about.
apparently me neither. Hang on.
The drugs,
ahead.
man. You got to
Yeah.
stop doing the drugs.
Yeah. Lay off.
But I like the drugs.
Well, I had one of the worst beers I've ever had last night. I don't even think I
What
should say the name of it because it was that bad. Although
Oh, really?
probably warn people not to ever try it.
What was it?
It was supposed to be a Gosa, which are those
Mm-hmm.
sour, salty beers that I like. This tasted nothing like a Gosa. It just tasted bad. Like there were no redeeming qualities to it. I drank maybe this much out of the bottle.
What brand? What brewery?
Hold on, I gotta look it up because I don't even remember. This was at like 2:30 in the morning last night.
That Ghost was it the Ghost that we had at the Brew Grass Festival that was so good?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, there was a good one there. It was Troublesome by Off Color Brewing. It's not a Gosa. I don't know what it is.
Mm-hmm.
It was bad. I think they're in Chicago. Yeah. There's a brewery from Chicago.
Everybody's saying hello, Rick.
Hey, everybody. Mr. Neville Bound. Andrew. You got Tony. Nice. Nicholas.
It was a gift. That model. That was a gift.
From some other
Um,
777 pilot.
a good friend of mine who tells people that he actually flies this airplane. He does.
Yeah.
It's all in his head. It's the drug.
It's all in my head. In fact, I'm leaving on a trip in my head tomorrow,
Sure you are.
and I'll be gone for a week in my head.
He's really just going to be in Miami. He just won't answer his phone, talk to anyone. And then he'll just show up again.
Or post anything on Twitter.
No, there will be a lot of Twitter posts. They'll just be,
Yeah.
you know,
It doesn't
stolen
matter.
photos, retweeted photos.
All right.
You guys know me too well.
Because we're kind of on a tight schedule here.
Okay.
That's what she said.
Thank you. It took me forever to make that sound file come out. We will get started. What do you think?
Let's do it.
Sure.
Okay. And as I said, Rick, we're just going to mostly do the news and maybe a little bit of feedback and then kind of wrap it up early and not do the full show tonight.
Sounds like a deal.
Then I think we'll try to finish it up on Wednesday.
Alrighty.
Sounds good.
That still works for you. Well, we'll talk about it later.
Yeah.
Okay. Let's see. Let me make sure that this is recording. All right. And if you start hearing echoing again, then when you're talking a little bit more, it should go away. Allow
I usually just take my earbuds off, and that way I don't.
You don't hear it?
There you go. Of course, you don't hear anything from us either.
Well, I can.
One
If I see
resolution.
if I see your like your mouth moving, then I know
You
you're
want us
saying
to
something.
like type everything? This is what I'm saying right now.
Message to Rick. Message to Rick.
That'll work.
Let's see. Red Van Man found my way here. Yeah, I was going through Google Hangouts. Okay. Hey, if somebody can get to, I don't think I can get to it. Let me see. Let me try. I'm going to put a link to this crowdcast in the YouTube on the YouTube page. But it seems like when I tried to do that before, I couldn't find it. Access it. Access it. Let me see. I don't see anything there. Let me see in the Creator Studio.
There's Captain Al.
And hey, Captain Al. And live streaming. Let's see if there's anything there. It says I'm offline. Yeah, it's kind of weird. It like, even though I'm using. Oh no. Okay, here. Here it is. Edit. Live.
Got here through Twitter. Yeah.
Okay, good. I can do the crowdcast. Oops, that's not it. That's the link for anybody to come and join us. Don't want to do that. Not that we wouldn't love to have you join us.
Just have all kinds of invasion.
On my other show that I do, I experimented with giving out my number, so it was like a call-in show. That kind of worked, kind of fun.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah, we can do it
Nice.
sometime maybe. Okay, so let me here do this. Join live
Sorry.
chat.
Seeds in my teeth.
Hopefully that doesn't mess up anything. Okay, we're still in the air.
Mm-hmm.
Says live.
All right, let me get in the window here. Google Hangout. Okay, there we go. So if anybody accidentally stumbles upon us on the YouTube page, they should be showing up here. All right, here we go. Airline Pilot Guy, episode 192.
Flight 209, you are cleared for takeoff. Roger. LA, good morning. 123.9.
Hello, you're listening to the Airline Pilot Guy Show, the view from my side of the cockpit door. I'm Captain Jeff, your host, broadcasting live from Studio 1A in the APG headquarters building in lovely Roswell, Georgia. In tonight's episode, a couple of landing gear issues in the past few days. Russia's attempt to hack into the Dutch Safety Board investigation. An e-cigarette accidentally activated in flight. And an airport employee takes a selfie on a jet's wing without permission. So get all settled in, tray tables and seat backs in their upright and locked positions, electronic devices powered on. Flight 192 is ready for pushback. Hello everyone, and welcome to this week's, actually second episode, or this week's normal episode, episode 192. And joining me is the lovely Dr. Steph.
Hello, hello. Good to be back again.
Good to have
Missed you guys last night.
Yeah, so we'll talk about that in a second. Miami Rick, he's back again for another night of torture.
It's been a while.
I know.
Did we do this
No.
like in the near past? No.
It wasn't even 24 hours ago.
Yeah, so many of you all know, especially the people that are hanging out with us in the live chat room, that we recorded last night for almost 3 hours. In fact, how late was it? It was like 1 o'clock in the morning our time, wasn't it, Rick?
Yeah, we put a bill on it about 1 o'clock, 1 a.m. It was a late one, but it was a good one. Because we needed to catch up with a lot of that great feedback you guys and gals send, and I'm happy to report that we did, put a big dent in it. So we're happy. It was good.
Yeah, we are. 191.5 feedback extra, and for those of you who are patrons, don't worry, we're not going to charge you for that one. It's just an extra, it's just some gravy to help us try to catch up with some of your great feedback. So check it out. It should be
just gravy in your mashed potatoes.
That's right. Tonight's the mashed potatoes. Last night was the gravy.
There you go.
And you just got to put them all together. Stir them on up. I don't know what that means. Okay. Let's see. So we did that, and let's see. I got this from we had the T-shirt, the Acme Airlines T-shirt on Teespring, and Jim, Swedish Jim, wrote me and said, hey, he had some problems getting his T-shirt from Teespring, and after waiting for 2 months, they are resending it. He said, are any other non-U.S. residents reporting problems? And so I said, I hadn't heard from anybody, so if you are or have, let me know. And we'll try to remedy that as best we can. But and just to let you know, we are planning on doing another campaign and offering the Acme Airlines T-shirt again. So I guess Rick and Steph and I can get together and see what they have to offer and maybe do something a little bit different or whatever. So we'll see.
Well, I know people outside of the U.S. definitely did get their T-shirts,
Okay.
so it might just be a.
Must be just you, Jim, and Sweden. Maybe there's something wrong with your postal system in Sweden. Who knows? But I'm glad that they're going to send another one out. So let me know if you don't get that. So again, if anybody has any issues, please let us know. And let's see. I am going out on a 2-day trip on, well, tomorrow, and then again on Thursday and Friday. And we're going to try to knock out most of this episode sometime earlier in the week so that by Thursday or Friday it'll be all ready to go, and I'll just hit the publish button and everybody will get to hear this on their audio podcatcher, whatever, iTunes, whatever. Because I'm going out to California on Friday for my sister's funeral on Saturday. And Rick, I guess you're going out on a trip as well tomorrow?
Yeah, tomorrow, bright and early for me. It's a 3-leg day. We're going from here, Miami, to Montevideo. It's about an 8-hour flight. Then from Montevideo to across the Rio de la Plata to Buenos Aires. It's about 45 minutes. And then across from the Atlantic side to the Pacific side to Santiago in Chile. It's about a 2.5-hour flight. So it's going to be an all-day affair tomorrow, because even though the flight times are just, like I said, 8 hours, half hour, and 2.5 hours or whatever, every time we land at a particular place, it's usually 2 hours, between them unloading the airplane and loading the aircraft back up. So, it's going to be a long day. But it's fun, good stuff. Good crew tomorrow. It's going to be fun flight.
That is a long day. So are there, how many pilots are on the crew?
Oh, this time it's four of us.
Okay.
4 of us. Yep.
So hopefully you'll get some rest breaks.
Oh yeah, absolutely. It's actually when we break the flight up between 4 pilots, it really goes by fast, so you don't even feel it. It's like stepping in a time machine, because by the time the flight is done, 16 hours have passed by, and you're like, really? 16 hours are gone? And then it's time to go to the hotel. So you're done.
Awesome stuff.
I think I would be tired after that.
I'm tired.
I know. It sounds tired just listening to it.
So you were gone in Chicago this weekend again.
Again, I know. This was the month of Chicago. But.
Yeah. So what were you doing there?
So this time around, I had a family wedding to attend, and that was on Saturday. So went out on Friday, took a very early flight, the same flight I took 2 weeks before. I'm never booking that flight again. It's just too early.
Come on.
But it actually works out well, because then I get there and I have the whole day, and both of those days I had time to spend a little extra time with some family and friends that I don't get to see very often. I went out to brunch with one of my good friends, and on Friday morning. That was really nice, because I never get to see her. So there was that, and then the wedding so went out to lunch with my and this was on Friday after we had recorded a very late show on Thursday night.
That's right. We had a very late show Thursday, and then you did a kind of an all-nighter there on Thursday, right?
Yeah, I got about 2 hours of sleep that night. I think it was good.
Okay.
But then I had an all-day long day in Chicago after seeing my friend. Then I had to go to Midway Airport to pick up my brothers who were flying in from Salt Lake City. And then we had to leave immediately from there to go to O'Hare to pick up Justice. And then we had to drive all the way back south past O'Hare, or past Midway, to where the wedding was and the hotel that we were staying at was. So that took, Chicago traffic is just out of control.
There's no traffic there.
There's no traffic, yeah.
Just lovely.
That's lovely. But the wedding was great. We had a great time. I'm really glad my brothers came out. I don't get to see them both together very often. And my family, our extended family hasn't seen them in 6 years or something.
Oh,
so
wow.
That was nice. And then it was my brother's birthday yesterday, my youngest brother's birthday. He turned 27, so we spent a day in the city and, went a whole bunch of places and ate a bunch of good food and stayed up till 2 o'clock in the morning going to a couple of bars, and now I'm back again. It's good.
That is awesome.
Yeah, I'm glad you had a good weekend. We missed you last night. We really did. I know a lot of the people listening live missed you as well, but you're back.
I'm back.
Yay, finally. The voice of reason is back.
Hey.
Well, I'll have to go back and listen to what you guys talked about.
Oh, no, don't worry about it. You don't really need to listen. We didn't behind your back.
No, I'm excited. I have something to listen to this week. It's good.
Okay. Well, all right. Anything else before we move on with the coffee fund?
No, I just wanted to just basically clarify something I said yesterday. I went back and I listened to the part where we were talking about the differences between the CF6s and the Pratt & Whitney 4064 startup procedure, and I just wanted to clarify what max motoring speed means. Basically, max motoring speed means that the rotational velocity of the N2 compressor will increase by, it'll take more than 5 seconds for that N2 compressor velocity to increase by 1%. So if it takes longer than 5 seconds to increase by 1%, you know you've reached max motoring speed, and that's when you put the fuel in. I just wanted to make sure we got that clear.
I was wondering about that, and I'm glad
Yeah.
about that.
I know you couldn't sleep because of that. I was like,
I don't even remember you talking about that. I think that may have been when I was hitting the crickets button.
Exactly. The crickets, yeah. But,
No,
you know.
we aim to be precise and accurate on this show, so thank you. For,
Overly thorough.
and
There you go.
overly.
Take myself to task there.
So I feel like it's time for some coffee. How about you?
Let's do it.
Coffee.
Mm.
Johnny, how much more coffee?
No thanks.
I'll take some.
Oh, yeah.
All right. I love coffee. I love tea. I love beer. And you all love me. That's not how it goes. The Coffee Fund is your way to help out financially the Airline Pilot Guy show by helping us offset some of our expenses. And it also supplies me with huge quantities of caffeine-laden, sweet, black liquid, which we call coffee. And if you want to join us and help support the show, head over to airlinepilotguy.com/coffee. And since our last episode, our last regular episode, we've had several people who took us up on that challenge. And let's see, we have Bernie Husbands, Patrick Boris, Ed Slattery, I think it's J. Joss Nakon or John Nakon. I'm sorry, John. I lost your email. I tried to find what your real first name was, and I couldn't find it. So sorry about that. And Steve Trumbull. And they use the Coffee Fund Classic method. And we have another way to support the show, and you can become a patron of the show via Patreon, and you can find out information about how to do that at airlinepilotguy.com/coffee. And since the last episode, Captain Al is now a patron of the show.
Woo-hoo.
Yay!
He's in the chat room.
Not only is he contributing via his feedback, but he's also contributing financially. So thank you, sir. I do appreciate that. Again, if you want to help us out with that, head over to airlinepilotguy.com/coffee. And thank you, Inkspots, for singing to us and serenading us. Now it's time for the news. Okay, we'll start off with a couple of landing gear incidents in the past few days. I'm not sure which one occurred first. Let's see, there's a...
I think the one in Cusco was first.
Okay. Let's see, you want to talk about that one, Steph?
Sure. So there was a Peruvian Airlines Boeing 737-300 registration, blah, 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 performing a flight from Lima to Cusco, Peru with 120 people on board. It landed on Cusco's runway 28 at about 11:30 local time. However, the right main gear collapsed at low speed near the end of the runway, leaving the aircraft disabled on the runway. Passengers were evacuated via slides, and no injuries are being reported. The airport reported the aircraft sustained a maintenance problem and became disabled on the runway after a part in the landing gear fractured. So there you go.
Yeah.
And there's actually the YouTube video of someone videoing someone else's phone.
Yeah, I saw that. I was like, wow.
There was a passenger on the plane took video out the window as they were landing, which is actually, I mean, you can see it well enough to get a sense of what's going on.
It looked like there was a lot of vibration. It was like really,
Yeah.
bouncing around a lot. But other than that, it just seemed pretty much normal.
I like it how everybody claps at the end.
Yeah,
Right.
and I'm thinking maybe that was a different video. Maybe that was just a regular landing video, or videotaping or whatever. But
Well, no, you can kind of tell right at the very end where the landing gear collapses. You can see that on the video.
I just kind of go,
Yeah.
and then he kind of pans around to the inside of the cabin.
Yeah.
Like, what happened there? Because I think the video is showing what's happening out the left side of the airplane. It's actually the right main landing gear that has collapsed. And not only
Correct.
did it, you'd think that it would collapse like inwardly because that's the way it's drawn in when the gear goes up, but it's actually collapsed outwardly.
Is it?
Yep, it's out towards the pylon, towards the engine pylon.
Yeah.
Mhm.
It's actually lodged between the engine pylon and the ground there.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Okay. I see now.
Basically ripped out of the landing gear bay there. So
So, I'm glad that you read that stuff because I would have said Cusco. That's Cusco.
Am I pronouncing it right?
no, it's Cusco.
Oh, it is?
Cus-
Okay.
Yeah.
Cusco?
Oh,
Cusco.
I didn't
Cusco? All right.
know.
Cusco.
Yeah.
Cusco. Sorry, I have no idea.
What's that stuff that you, couscous?
Cusco.
Yeah,
Couscous.
Couscous.
That's
Similar to
good
that.
stuff.
Cusco. Okay.
it is good stuff.
My apologies. to-
Nothing to do with this. No, I actually thought you were, I'm sorry, I shouldn't have said anything. I thought you were pronouncing it.
No, but correct me when I'm wrong there.
Oh, well, so have you flown here, Rick?
No, never flown into Cusco. It is a very, very popular destination with tourists in Peru because that is the airport that you fly into before you begin your trek up the mountain to get to Machu Picchu.
Oh.
So it's there's a lot of traffic between Lima, the main international airport in Peru, and Cusco. I mean, we ourselves have something like 10 flights a day, just our airline. And it's funny because I believe they have they work on a slot time kind of setup there because it gets so crowded that you have to be, wheels up at a certain time and land there at a certain time to kind of, keep the traffic flowing effectively there because of the sheer volume of airplanes trying to make it in there. It's a very, very long runway. But it needs to be that long because it's the airport itself. I forget exactly how high off the ground it sits, like mean sea level wise, but it's very, very high up there.
Yeah, something. It was like 10,000 some odd feet in elevation, I think.
Yeah, just looking at the runway marks here. So you got 1,000, 2,000. That's 3,000. 3,000 on one end, 3,000 on the other. So that's 6,000 feet. And it looks like maybe 4,000 to 5,000 feet in between. So it's a good at least 10,000 foot long runway at least.
And the elevation of Cusco is 10,860 feet.
There you go.
110 meters above sea level.
That is higher than any airport that I've ever flown into because the old Quito airport was 9,228 feet. So wow. That is high up there.
And this is from the Aviation Herald, this article, and there are several comments there and people saying that they have flown in and out of the airport, and almost every time it's a hard landing because I guess you have that thin air and high density altitude, and they said a lot of times it's pretty hot as well. So I would imagine this is one of those things where you can't really fool around too much when you're trying to get the thing on the ground, like trying to get a nice smooth landing. You just gotta put it on as best you can. I don't know what the surrounding terrain is like, but I would imagine.
Oh, it's high terrain. It's high terrain, and up until not too long ago, really, it was it had a single VOR approach. The main runway, I believe, is what was the runway? 28.
28.
28. Yeah, I believe it had a VOR approach into 28, and then you had a circle land procedure to the opposite runway there. But now they have a RNAV approach for both runways, 28 and I guess the other would be 10.
Yeah.
And so there's RNAV procedures now for both runways, but and it's very, very high up, very close in obstacles, mountains all over the place. Interesting. Like I said, I've never actually flown in there, but we fly overhead all the time, and it looks interesting. It looks like it'd be a fun place to fly in and out of.
And that was just a couple days ago, and today another 737, this one a -400, was landing. They were going from Port Elizabeth to Johannesburg in South Africa, and they were landing on runway 3 right, and they suffered the collapse of the left main gear and came to a stop on the right main gear, tail, and left engine, left wingtip. No injuries, and the aircraft sustained substantial damage. Let's see, a passenger reported the captain announced prior to landing that they would need to land without left main gear. The aircraft subsequently touched down at an angle and skidded along the runway with sparks spraying off the left-hand side. Let's see. The airline later reported that shortly after touchdown, the crew noticed an unusual vibration, which was shortly followed by the collapse of the left main landing gear. A ground witness reported it appeared the left main tires burst on touchdown. The aircraft fell onto the wheel bogies, the left main gear strut was ripped off and left behind, and the aircraft skidded on its left engine to a halt. Now, the thing that I'm kind of scratching my head about, I don't really understand based on this this bit of information, is that the captain told everybody that they didn't have the left main and they were going to land. Now, what's the time frame? I mean, was this something that was discovered pretty far out, and then they did their checklist, procedures and all that kind of stuff, and prepping the flight attendants for an emergency landing and all that kind of stuff before they touch down? Or the way this article makes it sound is this, as if, okay, they put the gear down and they get a warning for the left main, and then they continue the landing, and oh, by the way, we're going to land without the left main landing gear. I don't know. Did you get that impression from reading this?
There's just not a lot of detail.
Exactly. No, not a lot of detail there. I don't see anything about a timeline there. I mean, they're obviously aware. I guess they didn't get a green light on the left main landing gear leg there.
Yeah.
But I don't know what the time frame is. Maybe I don't know what their fuel situation was. I don't know. It doesn't really say.
I never said who this was. This is a Comair. But the first one we were talking about was a Peruvian.
Mm-hmm.
That stuff. And this one is a Comair, not the Comair that we know here as a regional airline in the United States that is no longer alive.
Yep, they're long gone.
A company that is does some flying for British Airways, and so it has the British Airways colors or livery on the jet, but it's not really British Airways. It's a different company, Comair, Comair. And again, it was a 737-400, and
so both 737s.
Yeah,
Yep.
I hope that we learn more information especially about this one, because the whole timeline of how this progressed, it just seems kind of odd to me.
Yeah.
The first one sounds like it was maybe just a hard landing and it just collapsed, and they had no idea that they were going to have a problem. This one, it sounds like they knew something was wrong before they touched down. But
yeah. And the interesting thing about this one is that the gear in the Comair incident failed, inboard, like it was getting retracted into the landing gear bay, whereas the one in the Peruvian failed outward.
Yeah.
Interesting. It's gonna be interesting to see what happens there.
Yeah, and they're both, one was a 300 and one's a 400, so they're roughly the same generation of 737s, right? The
Pretty close.
first part of the new generation.
Yeah.
Not the latest series like the 700, 800, 900 series.
Correct.
Yeah, the old, basically combination steam gauges and CRTs, like the first generation. Well, not the first generation, because that'd be the 200s, but I guess the mid generation.
300, 400, 500.
400, 500, 600,
Yep.
right, exactly.
Well, as long as we're talking about incidents on 737s, we might as well just continue. This has nothing to do with landing gear, though. The airline in this case is Malindo Air, and they are I think they're a Malaysian carrier. I'm not sure. They were going from Kuala Lumpur, they were going from Kota Kinabalu to Kuala Lumpur. Maybe it's just an Indonesian carrier. Anyway. They were en route at altitude when a passenger, they say, was watching the video on the aircraft's in-flight entertainment system, although one of the commenters said that they've flown on this airline in this flight and there was no entertainment system. But you know how things are. I mean, on Acme, you might fly on an airplane that has one, and you might fly on the same flight another day, but that airplane doesn't have the in-flight entertainment systems. But anyway, watching the aircraft's in-flight entertainment system, having placed his bag onto his lap, he suddenly felt intense heat on his thighs. He opened up the bag and discovered that his electronic e-cigarette had been inadvertently switched on and had burned through the bag. The cabin crew took care of the bag while a doctor on board assisted the passenger, who received burns to his thighs and left hand. And the aircraft continued to Kuala Lumpur for a safe landing about 2 hours after departure. And
It must be a Malaysian airline because I looked up the 9 mic registration and that belongs to Malaysia. Yeah.
okay.
There you go.
So that makes sense. And I guess the thing here, the reason why I wanted to talk about this is that, as Rick and I and Steph have said many times, fire on an airplane is about one of the worst things that you can have happen to you. And what if this vaping device or this e-cigarette had been inadvertently switched on, but it was in the cargo hold and not, in the airplane, in the carry-on?
I'm not sure how hot they actually get, but I imagine it only has to be right next. If it was somehow next to a very combustible, flammable substance, it probably wouldn't take much.
Yeah.
Yeah, just like Captain Jeff said there, the only thing that really scares me while flying is of fire, and even more so when you're talking about, lithium-ion battery type fires, because those kinds of fires, once you get them going, they're not stopping. And we are taught in training that from the time we get the initial fire indication up in the flight deck to the time the fire actually burns through the flight control system and the fuselage is anywhere between 15 to 18 minutes. So you basically don't have time to do anything. It's just basically point it towards the ground and get down as fast as you can and
hope you make it to the ground before the
plane breaks apart.
Wow.
Yeah. So
that is serious. That is serious.
Scary stuff.
Yeah.
Yep.
All right. Well, anything else to say about that before we move on to another news item?
Yeah, I'm just hoping I'm not taking any lithium-ion batteries tomorrow.
Yeah. You do that a lot?
Oh, all the time. That's actually that's our bread and butter, because those kinds of batteries are called what are called CAOs, cargo aircraft only, and they're cargo aircraft only because of that very reason, because they can't be taken on commercial on passenger flights because of how dangerous they are. There are procedures in place to try to mitigate the latent danger of having that on board. Very, very strict procedures, very, very strict checklists that we have to follow, that the shippers have to follow, that the loaders have to follow. We as pilots have to be very mindful of the temperature on the main deck. Certain types of batteries can't go in the main deck, even though they're lithium-ion. There are 2 types of lithium-ion batteries. There's a type of lithium-ion battery that's a bit more stable than another type. And so the really unstable type of battery has to go in the cargo hold, because the cargo hold itself does have firefighting agents, whereas the main cargo deck does not. And so you have to be very, very careful of what goes where and how to handle it, and what the temperature has to be in the cargo hold to keep those batteries stable and cool. And it's just it's a whole list of things you have to be careful with. But and that's the reason why, as I said, these only go on cargo airplanes.
I think they should be banned from all flights.
You know what? Actually, and many airlines are actually moving towards that. These lithium-ion batteries have brought down, just off the top of my head, 747 UPS in Dubai, Asiana 74 in Southeast Asia. FedEx lost a plane to batteries as well. So I mean, it's just they're dangerous, and that's one thing that really makes me nervous when.
Put them on
So how would they ship them instead? Just put them on a boat?
Put them on a container ship, and then I would put it somewhere near the top so that the thing caught on fire. They could push it off or something.
But until that happens, I mean, I don't know. I don't see that happening anytime soon.
Just risk management as best as you can, I guess.
Yep, it's all about the money, right?
Exactly right. And Tony's saying, Rick, would you ever fly depressurized? It's a good question, Tony, because that is the procedure that we're supposed to follow when we do get a cargo fire indication in the main deck. What we do is basically we descend down to 25,000 feet, and by pressing the fire suppression button up in the overhead panel, that's what you're doing. You're opening the outflow valves, depressurizing the aircraft, and then trying to starve the fire from oxygen that way. And then hopefully that'll be enough to get you to near a suitable airport, or just to, somewhere to get the aircraft on the ground and try to save the crew that way. So, yeah.
All right. Well, we'll hope that nothing ever goes wrong with the lithium-ion batteries aboard Miami Rick's airplane.
Yeah, that's for sure.
Those Russians, those darn Russians. According to this article, they says that Russian spies likely tried to hack into the Dutch Safety Board's computer systems to access a sensitive final report into the shooting down of flight MH17 over Ukraine. We talked about that report that the Dutch Safety Board came out with, I think, a couple episodes ago. And the cyber attacks were revealed by security experts Trend Micro, which blamed a shadowy group dubbed Operation Pawn Storm, an active economic and political cyber espionage operation that has targeted the White House and NATO in the past. A spokeswoman for the Dutch board, which led the investigation into how Malaysia Airlines Flight 17 came down in July 2014 over war-torn Ukraine, confirmed that the board had detected the attacks. So they knew that this group was trying to hack into their system, I guess to change the report or something, or maybe destroy evidence. I don't know.
I don't know, but it's
Nothing good.
Yeah, it's clear that something's going on. Actually, right before starting to record, I was doing the dishes downstairs, and I was listening to the news, CNN, and they were talking about how they detected Russian submarines near some of our communication cables. I forget what part of the ocean out there, but some very strategic underwater communication cables, and yeah, it's looks like the Cold War is coming back. It's warming up again a little bit.
It's starting to get chilly, isn't it?
Yeah, it is.
Okay. Yeah, it does seem like that, doesn't it? All the reports of Russian aircraft kind of mixing it up or getting really close to, the other countries' territories and
Right, they just show up, fly around for a little while, and leave.
Yeah, get old. Well, and then finally we have this. Just saw this in the news just recently. The selfie phenomenon has swept the world. But
Oh my
one
gosh.
taking a picture of yourself is still forbidden is on the wing of an airplane. Who knew? On Thursday night, so I guess that was just a few days ago, an American Airlines plane was temporarily taken out of service after an employee working at Logan International Airport in Boston climbed onto the wing to snap a photo of himself. According to Ashley Troutman of myfoxboston.com, a witness noticed an employee of Swissport, one of the third-party companies, I think, that does a lot of ramp work and stuff at various airports, climbing onto the wing of a plane to take a selfie and contacted the authorities to report the incident. The employee had a security badge, which allowed him, I bet he doesn't anymore, which allowed him in the area where the incident occurred, but the access was taken away from him as a result of his actions.
There you go.
Yep, right there in that same sentence. Should have read a little bit longer, I guess. To ensure that the selfie-taking man didn't do any damage to the wing of the plane, the airline removed the aircraft from service until a maintenance team could examine it for potential damage. So the Massachusetts State Police arrived at the scene to respond to the incident but did not arrest the man or press charges. The man was removed from the property by the police, though.
People. Use judgment. Come on.
Well, and selfies. Come on, people. I don't know. I was in Grant Park yesterday, and there was a Segway tour going on through the park, and there was a lady riding her Segway with a selfie stick, and she's looking more at her phone than where she's going on the Segway. It's just out of control.
What could go wrong?
I know. I was kind of watching, hoping that maybe there'd be a small mishap. Nothing terrible, just, enough to realize
naughty
how
stuff.
dumb that is.
All right.
Man.
Well, that's enough for news. I can't think of anything else to talk about, so it's time now for some more of your feedback.
Captain, incoming message.
Okay, let's start with our good friend Bhavesh, an airline pilot in Africa. And he sent me a link to airlinereporter.com, and it's an article about the L-1011. He said, I hope all is well. I came across this article and thought of you. Hope you enjoy it. So I'll put that link in the show notes so you can enjoy it with me. Cool. All about the history of the L-1011 and good stuff. Chris Marsh wrote in, said,
This is great.
I know that you and your family have had a very hard time this year, and you're in my prayers. Despite everything, your great sense of humor still shines through in the shows. Well, thank you, Chris. Appreciate it. I thought that the attached might also bring another smile to your face. It did to mine. This is a genuine screenshot of the suggestions that came up when I started to type airline pilot guy into Google search. It seems your co-hosts are more famous than you are. No mention in the suggestions of anyone called Captain Jeff. So he has this little screenshot here, and sure enough, airline pilot guy, and then there's an airline mentioned. So I guess I'm kind of busted there. Twitter, Dr. Steph, Miami Rick, YouTube. No mention of
No Captain Jeff.
No, Captain Jeff. Where's Captain Jeff?
We decided you're right at the top there because you are the airline pilot.
Exactly.
You're first.
I kind of said, I talked myself into not feeling bad about this because I am the airline pilot guy. Anyway, he said, seriously though, the community will always respect you as the founder and chief executive of the best commercial aviation podcast in the world. Thank you, Chris. I appreciate that.
There you go. You feel better now?
I do. He's a photographer in North Highcombe.
I don't know. This is another name we're going to get in trouble for trying to pronounce.
Is it? It's maybe
Farnborough.
somewhere near there. I don't know.
I don't know. I'm scratching my head though, trying to figure out how I'm listed there above Miami Rick. That's just
Probably alphabetically.
No, because
No.
Twitter is
T,
you're right.
D,
Yeah, you're right. Okay.
Yeah, that was my first thought too.
more people are searching for Dr. Steph than
It's
Miami.
great.
I mean, Dr. Steph's all about the substance. I'm just about the laughs.
You're just fluff.
I'm just fluff. I'm just hot air.
All right. Well, thank you, Chris, for putting a smile on all of our faces. Speaking of smiling, that good-looking Robert Swerdling down in what's the country with that starts with a B?
Brazil?
That's it. Man, I'm tired. I still haven't recovered from staying up late last night, I guess. He sent in a link to an article talking about the upcoming movie that I guess they're filming now, Miracle on the Hudson, and Tom Hanks is going to play none other than the star Captain Sully Sullenberger. So that's very cool. There's a picture, I guess, of
Good choice.
Yeah.
and he looks a lot like Sully. He's actors. They're good, and I love
Yeah.
Tom Hanks. He's such a great actor.
He's great actor. Absolutely. I remember I saw Forrest Gump in the movies back in '94. I was like 12 or 13 or something. So great actor. Oh, and I just wanted to say, I forgot to mention in the last episode, wanted to say thanks to Robert for. Can you believe he flew in from Santiago to Sao Paulo at something like 1:30 in the morning, and he waited for me until 6:30 a.m. when we met up for breakfast at the airport there, and basically he just waited around for 5 hours to just basically have a cup of coffee together. So that was really cool. It was amazing to meet you. Amazing to meet your friend Costa. Great people down there. Great energy. Just great all around people. So I was really happy and really honored to have breakfast with you guys, and hoping to do it again soon.
Very cool.
Nice.
Thanks, Robert, for sending that in, and we'll put a link to this from the SavvyStews.com. Why are you hanging out on SavvyStews.com, Robert? I'd like to know. Okay, let's continue with. We're going to talk about flight attendants very soon, and another piece of feedback. But in the meantime, we're going to talk about this. This was tweeted on Twitter. You may have heard of that by David Red Van Man. I know he's in the chat room now, I think. And he sent us a link to a YouTube video. It said just what you were talking about. And it's a YouTube video called Follow the Greens. It's a low visibility takeoff out of East Midlands in the UK. And again, a lot of the airports around our country, the US, also have these systems. They don't use them routinely unless we're in low visibility conditions, as this YouTube video is portraying, and it's really nice music, and it shows the airplane taxiing out and the green lights and the red stop bars, and then going onto the runway and then taking off, and then as soon as it breaks out from the fog It's a beautiful sunrise. So definitely worth watching. Thank you, David, for sending that tweet and sharing it with the APG community. Now, Big Ron.
Whoa.
Big
Wait a
Ron.
minute.
Big Ron. I don't know
What we got here?
what caught his eye on this.
I can't imagine.
This is from airlive.net. And apparently a flight attendant reportedly made almost $1 million having sex with passengers. And I don't know if this photo that they have here in the article is actually a photo,
Is that the flight attendant?
but I would imagine
Maybe similar looking.
yeah. She
Hmm.
reportedly earned around 650,000 pounds over a 2-year period by being naughty with passengers in the toilet. On the scale of the woman's
You couldn't pay me enough money to go into an airplane lavatory.
Oh,
Anything
man.
like that.
apparently you could pay her enough.
Apparently.
That is some side gig. Wow, that is crazy.
And I believe it's one of the Gulf airlines. I'm not
It
sure.
says airline in the Middle East.
Yeah, when I read this
What does that
article,
mean
that's
specifically?
what cracked me up the most about it, because it's like,
Yeah.
what?
That's not where you would imagine that happening.
No.
I mean, here in the U.S., yeah, okay, maybe.
Yeah. But yeah, it says long distance. She preferred long distance flights between the Gulf and
I
the.
wonder why.
Hmm.
Wonder why.
All right. Well, speaking of Mile High Club, I'm going to skip on down to because it kind of ties in a little bit.
Okay.
I don't know which one you're talking about.
You guys are going to have to scroll up, and I'm scrolling.
Yeah, I know which one you're talking about.
Trying to find it. Where is that? I think Frick sent that in. Oh yeah, here it is. 10/17 is the date on it.
Got it.
Gotcha.
He said Aer Lingus is somehow participating in the Mile High party, and he sent a link to a YouTube video, and I'll play a little bit of the video. I think I have it queued up here, so you can all listen to it. Oh shoot! Hang on. I have to do one more little thing to make sure it plays through, so everybody can hear it. Here we
I thought we were gonna get an ad or something.
I know, that's what I was waiting for.
We'll get an ad now that I've done this, but I don't think so. I think we're going to be going.
Have to wait 4 seconds, and then you can skip the ad.
Here we go. So I can get the volume up a little bit. Sounds like some Irish music. And it's a passenger kind of doing a jig, I guess they call that, with a
Nice.
Aer Lingus flight attendant. So that's the Mile High party that they're having, which is completely different than the Mile High party that the other flight attendant was engaging in.
This one looks like fun, though.
Yeah, it does.
Good, clean
Yeah,
fun.
yeah, I could,
They're
I
having
could get
great-
down with that kind of party.
Yeah, I love that. I'd like to join that Mile High Club. So thank you, Rick, for giving us that. Okay, so back to where we were. Where were we here? Mariana
Yep.
says, and this, we talked about this a few episodes ago. Again, we're still trying to catch up with the feedback, but I thought it was still worth talking about. And this is regarding the death of the American Airlines pilot on a flight from Phoenix to Boston, and they ended up going into Syracuse, I think. And the pilot, the captain, died of a heart attack, I believe. So she said, I have some questions as to how this situation was handled. You have stated repeatedly that the crew is sealed in the flight deck and under no circumstances is the access to be opened. Did we just learn of at least one exception? And that's not entirely true. I mean, even in a normal flight, a longer, let's say a 2-hour or longer flight, it's not uncommon at all that the seal, in quotes, is broken because we don't have toilets up in the cockpit, and we'd like to try to keep it clean, and so we like to use the
Sanitary.
Yes, sanitary.
Just some hygiene.
Yeah.
Basic hygiene.
Yeah, a lot of things like that. So we actually use the lavatory, which is just not far from the cockpit door, and so we do open the cockpit door occasionally on the longer flights, and even the long haul flights. that door is probably coming open quite a bit because the crews are relieving each other, etc. So it's not
And themselves.
and themselves.
Yeah, themselves, exactly.
Um, but in this case, yeah, this is an exception because, once you've determined that the situation that you are experiencing is not some kind of a diversion attempt or terrorist attempt, then the priority, of course, is to, do the best you can for the crew member who is incapacitated. And she goes on, the co-pilot flew the plane while cabin crew members attempted to revive the captain. Would the co-pilot have been resealed into the flight deck? I would think having only one person there would not have been safe. And it depends on the airline and their policy regarding incapacitated crew members. My airline basically says if it's possible to try to attend to and render medical aid to the incapacitated crew member while still in the control seat, then that is okay to do. If it's a situation where there's no way you can do that effectively, then a couple able-bodied people, and it could even be passenger volunteers to help lift the person out of the control seat and into the cabin, where there's a little bit more room, perhaps put them on the floor, etc., so that they can administer CPR or whatever the situation is. That's also acceptable as well. But again, obviously in this case, you're going to be opening up that door to render medical assistance. So, and in this case, if they did pull the captain out of the cockpit, I don't believe that they would just leave the first officer by himself or herself and seal them up in the cockpit. I'm sure that somebody else, generally speaking, I think they will ask for, if they'll usually know if there's a deadheading pilot or a commuting pilot on board, or if they don't know that, then they may actually make a PA and ask if anybody is like that on board. And somebody who knows something about aviation would be helpful to come up there and assist and help run checklists and talk on the radio and that kind of thing.
Absolutely. Some help is, any help is better than no help at all. So if there's someone on board that can, lend a hand, why not?
Yeah. And then she goes, Dr. Steph, I wonder if they had a portable cardiac defibrillator on board. Also, the news brief I heard said one of the cabin crew was a nurse. I'm pretty sure that American Airlines does have.
They do. There was one on there. But I think we touched on this just briefly, and I was mentioning, in instances of heart attacks, myocardial infarction, there's some cardiac rhythms that are not amenable to being shocked. So you put the pads on, and then the device is actually going to analyze that rhythm and advise you whether a shock is advised or not. And if it's not, then you just continue with CPR, and if it is, then you give the shock. Even if you're giving the shocks, it's not a guarantee that that's going to get you back to a perfusing rhythm that's going to ensure that the person survives. So, it's there, it's important, it should be used, but just because it's there, it's not a guarantee that you're going to revive someone with it.
Okay, so it's not like a magic pill.
It's not a magic pill, unfortunately, no.
But it could help.
Absolutely, and it certainly does. And if it's there and it's available, you definitely want to get it on as soon as possible, because the sooner you do, the more likely it is that you're going to have success with it.
Okay, excellent.
The longer you wait, those chances go down.
And in the same vein, David wrote in, again, they sent this feedback right around the time that this had happened, or just after this had happened. He said a coworker and I were talking about American Airlines 550 and the pilot that died mid-flight. The coworker who is taking flying lessons, this is the interesting part, so the guy that he's talking to, who is taking flying lessons, said it didn't matter that the guy died because pilots don't do anything. The plane takes off and lands and flies itself.
Was he being a little facetious or joking? And I
don't think so.
Is
and
he being coy? What's going on there?
What really floors me is the guy's taking flying lessons. Is
right.
Like, is he a complete moron? I mean, come on. These airplanes, we've said so many times, there is a lot of automation, but they do not fly themselves, and without the help of a human. And let's see, he goes on, in the past I've had a self-described airline pilot make the same statement. Well, that's even more disgusting to me.
See, that worries me even more because apparently, supposedly this guy's an airline pilot.
Yeah.
And, you know.
I never heard of anyone that I know to be a pilot say that they do not do anything and the planes fly themselves. So after listening to you for all this time, I know this is not to be true. I was wondering what should I say to people that say such ignorant things. If you and Wikipedia can give me some keywords and tricky phrases, that would be great.
Well, just we spoke about this a couple of podcasts ago, a couple episodes ago, and we discussed how this is actually a maneuver that is practiced in the simulator. It's called a pilot incapacitation maneuver, in which the pilot that you're flying with basically, passes away or becomes incapacitated in one way or another, and the remaining pilot is the only pilot at the controls, and so he is or she is the person that's left to bring the aircraft down safely. So, I mean, yeah, we rely on automation, and obviously you want to be able to, rely on that automation as much as you can, because it's just you. You no longer have your partner with you, so you do want to use that automation, but that doesn't mean that the plane does everything by itself. You still need to descend. You still need to enter your altitudes up in the mode control panel. You still need to decelerate the aircraft to configure it. You still need to get the landing gear down. Even if you do an auto land, you still need to get the aircraft in a position where it's ready to do that auto land, even if you're landing automatically. It doesn't do it by itself.
You just want to make your workload manageable.
Exactly right.
It's just a tool that we have to kind of help with doing some of the things that we don't have to do necessarily, although we need to know how to do them manually if necessary. But as you said, slowing down the airplane, configuring the airplane, and lowering the landing gear, putting the flaps out, slowing the airplane down, and setting up. And it's just not a matter of hitting the button that says land. I mean, there are several different things that, I just wish everybody could make. People that make that kind of statement is just, I wish they could see some videos. Well, you could look at them right now. Go to YouTube and do some searching and see that we are not just sitting there watching the airplane fly itself. We're actively involved in the flying of the airplane, even if the automation is on.
So the next time, I'm sorry, Dr. Steph, go ahead.
Go ahead, Rick.
No, I was going to say that the next time this quote unquote pilot tells you anything about this kind of stuff, just tell them just say that the pilot incapacitation scenario is something that's practiced in what's called a LOFT, line-oriented flight training, and that's part of the simulator syllabus. We might not do it every 6 months, but we will practice it. Like I said, maybe not every simulator session or every simulator period, but it's something that does come up, and it's something that we do need to practice, and we need to be certified on to keep our licenses current. So it's something that we have to do. Otherwise, we can't fly.
And if that doesn't work, just say, "No, you idiot. What are you thinking?" Go back to school.
And you tell them Dr. Steph sent you.
You can tell them that.
You know what? Dr. Steph says you're an idiot.
Yeah, tell them that.
Yeah.
Because it's true.
And Captain Jeff and Miami Rick says so too.
Yep, absolutely.
And then I think that airline pilots have been their own worst enemy for the last several years, because they think by saying that the airplane flies itself that somehow makes passengers feel safer and more comfortable when they're in an airplane. So sometimes we kind of downplay what our role is as pilots in the cockpit, and I think that sometimes backfires, because I'm very hesitant to say, oh, this is easy, anybody can do it, it's just like driving, we just push buttons, blah blah blah, and I'm thinking, don't say that, because that's not true.
Exactly, it's not true. It's not easy. If it was, everyone would be a pilot.
Right.
And, it's not easy. It's not. I mean, there are some people that are more apt or are more inclined to this kind of work or this kind of line of work. Mm-hmm. But it's not like anybody could do it.
No.
Something that you have to learn, something that you have to get perfect. It's a craft that you have to work at and practice and get good at, but you need to have that initial inclination to want to do it in the first place, and not everybody's born with that. So.
Right.
So real quick, before we move on, Captain Al wanted to know, in the U.S., can you exceed 250 knots below 10,000 feet for a medical emergency? I feel like we've touched on this before, and I don't.
I've done that. 330 knots, like at 3,000 feet. in the JFK terminal management area. That's the fastest I've ever gone in a TMA in the States because we had a cardiac episode actually, and I basically got the aircraft configured from 330 knots to gear down within something like 15 miles. It was pretty intense.
Exercising your emergency authority.
Exactly right. Got to get that aircraft on the ground, and when lives are at stake, then you got to get the plane on the ground and that person to the hospital as soon as you can because a life is at stake.
That's right. Yeah. So the answer is yes.
Good.
We can do that. Now, if you don't need to do that, then there's some other things to consider there. But somebody's life is in danger, then absolutely.
Sure.
But you don't want to endanger everybody else's lives as well. So that it's a balance.
Exactly right.
Because I have seen in simulated scenarios of this happening, or maybe even like an engine fire, not an engine fire, but the airplane on fire, where the speed is very, very high, and because you're not used to that really high energy level, getting the thing slowed down and configured and landing on the runway, you can end up, really screwing yourself in the process. So you have to be aware of what you're doing when you're taking on all that extra speed.
And the bigger airplanes, I remember on the 76, you needed something like a 10-mile level sector to decelerate from 330 knots to, flap speed, to be able to configure the aircraft and get it down the slope comfortably. So just basically flying level with the engines at idle and the speed brake lever out. 10 miles is a good, round number to get the aircraft from that high speed to a speed where you can manage an initial approach maneuver and down to the runway.
The rule of thumb on my airplane is about 1 mile per 10 knots to lose without, with the level flight with the power at idle. If you want to cut that in half, then you can use the full speed brakes.
Exactly. That's pretty ballpark for for the heavy iron.
Right.
Although Tony notes that you managed to land in the hospital car park, so congratulations on.
It's on YouTube too. No, I'm just kidding. It's not.
All right. Let's see. Captain T. My name is Thanos, but since you won't be able to pronounce my name, you can just call me Captain T. Like Mr. T. This is the name I use on Twitter to follow you and most of the APG community members. I discovered your podcast earlier this year, and I got hooked. I'm working on listening to all the episodes from the beginning. APG syndrome. And right now, I'm at episode number 96. It's a shame, though. Of course, this is back in the 6th of October, so he's probably on a later episode than that. It's a shame, though, that the Catholic Pilot Show is no longer available. I tried to download it unsuccessfully. Well, thanks for reminding me, Captain T. I do have all those episodes, and I am slowly getting those things reloaded because I accidentally deleted all of them. And I think about half of them are back up there. So just check in occasionally and see if they're available again. And hopefully I'll remember to do that. Anyway, going on with this feedback, it's really cool to see how the show has evolved to what it is now. Like when the Coffee Fund was introduced and how the opening and closing lines got their final format, etc. It's also quite funny that once you were worried about the 1 hour long episodes being too long. Yeah, I'm not worried about 1 hour episodes anymore. We're right about the 1 hour point right now, actually.
Yep.
I haven't reached the point, though, where the show was hijacked by Miami Rick. Maybe you can call the show now APG 75.
So you have. So wait. So that was 158. So you have about another 166 episodes to go.
Yep. They get there.
He was on 96.
No, just
Yeah, I know.
so yeah, just
Oh.
66.
Okay, gotcha.
Oh, 66. Sorry, you're right. You see, that's why I became a pilot, because I'm bad at math.
Anyway, in my opinion, one of the best episodes ever was the one you did with First Officer Tony. And that was a lot of fun. And it would be great if you could do something similar again. I think it would be awesome to meet more of your colleagues and listen to their life stories and their perspective of the job. Yeah, it just takes the right person and the right setting, and it, like the thing with Tony, it just kind of happened. That was when we were in Charleston. Let's see, I guess it was about 2 years ago in October. We're getting close to Halloween. Anyway, I don't want to keep this too long since I know you prefer audio feedback, so let me ask you this. During 2013, you mentioned a couple of times that Acme was able to upgrade the flight decks of the MD-80s. Did that occur, or was it abandoned at some stage? The Mad Dog cockpit pictures I see online do not suggest that the upgrade has happened. And you are correct, sir. It has not happened. There was a little bit of a problem with the what the contractor had promised our company and how much it was going to cost and how much time it was going to take to do the modifications, and they were nowhere close to either of those two things. The cost was a lot more, and the time that each airplane was going to be out of service was much longer than Acme could put up with, so they canceled the contract. And honestly, we really don't need these flat panel displays and all the new stuff. It works just fine the way it is right now. So anywho, finally, I was going to suggest an Atlanta meetup later this month, as I'm going to be there for my first time on layover. I see, though, that from your website that your roster would not allow it. Any recommendations about what to do and what to see and where to find the coldest beer would be greatly appreciated. As for the meetup, I will try to catch you in another U.S. city that I quite often fly into with my major Middle Eastern carrier. Best regards, and Kavu to you, Captain T. Well, thank you, Captain T, for taking the time to send in some feedback. And as far as any recommendations around the airport, I'm not sure exactly where you lay over, so maybe you can email me again, and I can give you some suggestions based upon where your layover hotel is. If you're staying out near the airport, I don't really know if there's much that I can recommend out there. So anyway, so thanks again for your feedback, and best regards and Kavu to you. And let's see, I haven't been called yet. You want to continue?
Let's do it.
Yep.
Okay. Let's see here. Next we have... It's not playing.
There we go.
There it is.
James Keene. Yeah. Rock on, man. Okay, let's go with his audio feedback.
Hello, Captain Jeff, Dr. Steph, and Miami Rick. This is James Keene. I hope you guys are doing great. I hope you played the music, by the way, Dr. Jeff.
I did.
Thanks so much for the last, many episodes. I just caught up on a bunch of them this last week. They've all been great, really informative, very entertaining, and really, really appreciate all the work you guys do. Anyway, there's been some discussion about wake turbulence over the last couple of episodes, and I thought that I would share a story from a general aviation perspective. I think I mentioned to you guys that I own a Cirrus, actually, and fly a Cirrus out of Farmingdale. That's Foxtrot Romeo Golf, which is west of Manhattan. And at the time of this story, I was actually flying a Grumman Tiger. By the way, very similar flying aircraft. And a Grumman Tiger, I guess the distinguishing feature about this aircraft is that it has a canopy that slides open, and you can legally fly with it open about 2 inches, although most pilots will fly with it open like a foot or two. Not me, of course, but most pilots will fly with it open about a foot or two. Anyway, in this particular night, I think I was trying to impress a girl that had just started dating. She was a whole different type of turbulence I'll have to get into in another story, but I was flying with her at night at like 10 o'clock at night, planning to fly her up the Hudson Corridor to go see parts of Manhattan, beautiful sightseeing flight around here. And typically what they'll do at a Farmingdale airport is they'll tell you to fly south, then you turn west along the south shore of Long Island, and they ask you to fly at or below 500 feet, which is to stay out of the airspace for JFK, and then once you pass JFK's airspace, they'll let you climb into the Hudson Corridor. This particular night was crystal clear, not an ounce of wind in the sky, and JFK was landing runway 22 to the north, meaning that the aircraft were flying over the south shore of Long Island. Here I am cruising along, happily cruising along at 500 feet, and just south of JFK Airport, or maybe just southeast of JFK Airport, and out of nowhere, the Grumman Tiger rolls completely to the right. And when I say completely, I mean past 180 degrees. We were inverted. Luckily, I mean, it took a second for me to react because it just happened so fast. Luckily, had quite a bit of aerobatics experience at the time. I was able to continue the roll past 180 degrees, so roll the aircraft completely around to the right and level it off. I think we maybe leveled off 50 feet or 100 feet over the water. I don't even know exactly. That's what wake turbulence can do, particularly when it's caused by, well, a large aircraft and you're in a small aircraft. It didn't help that the canopy was open, only 2 inches, of course. I mean, things flew out of the aircraft. And it doesn't take long for gravity to take effect. I learned that. And I don't think I'd ever fly that route again in a clear night like that. And that's my story about wake turbulence. Thanks so much for your show, guys. Talk to you soon.
Wow.
It's a good story.
Let me pick up my jaw on the ground.
Really? You know,
Wow.
You know, I've been involved, as I mentioned many times on this show, in a 727 on a still night, you know, on a descent going into Tampa, and just like out of nowhere, the airplane just kind of goes in. It didn't go inverted, but it was very startling. It went into at least 60 degrees of bank, maybe more, before and it kicked off the autopilot, and you know we had grabbed onto it and got the thing going upright, and immediately we called air traffic control and said, "Are there any other airplanes out here?" And they go,
Yeah, there's a Cessna 152 3 miles ahead of you.
I think it was an Airbus 300. You know, so it's a wide body, a heavy airplane, but it was like 20 miles ahead of us. And who'd have thought it would have been a problem? But I would imagine, I don't know. He didn't mention which way they were landing at Kennedy. If he was under the final portion or just somebody coming in for a downwind landing. It must have been people landing to the northeast. If he was along the shoreline there, it must not have been too far above where his airplane was.
Yeah, and if you think about it, around that point, you know, aircraft are maybe not fully configured for landing, but they certainly have some flap out, you know, and they're certainly flying slow and dirty, and that's exactly what you want to stay away from, you know, that kind of traffic ahead of you and above you there.
Yeah.
What I want to know here is, were you wearing the leather hat and like cover over your head and the goggles and the and the white scarf around your neck? That's what I want to know.
Red Baron.
Well, he was trying to impress his date,
Hmm.
so maybe he was.
And then they all went out the canopy.
Exactly. They all flew out. So let us know, because that's what I want to know.
That's what we want to know. We want pictures, and we want to hear about this turbulent girl as well.
The other story. Send the other story.
That's the different show that we do, not the airline.
Exactly.
So thanks, James, for the feedback. We appreciate that. That was interesting. Let's see. Swedish Jim wrote in and said, "Did you do this in the military?" He sent in a link, a Gizmodo.com link of a fighter jet landing on the middle of a roadway, and no, we didn't do that with the C-141. You'd have to be a really big.
You could have, but you would have sheared the wings off.
Yeah, we didn't even practice. That was not even something that anybody ever mentioned doing. So, no. Now they did land the airplane on ice when it went down to Antarctica.
The 141?
Yeah.
Really? Wow.
Yeah. There was only
I've seen a couple of Hercules, like Air Force C-130s with like with the skis on the landing gear and all that stuff.
Yeah, the 141 didn't have the skis. It was just that time of year when the ice was firm enough to support the 141. It was
Right.
like
They just plow it into like a runway.
Yeah.
Basically.
Yeah.
Like
But
road trucker style.
I never got a chance to do that. It was like one of those special things that only the privileged in the squadron. And I hadn't been there long enough to do one of those trips. But
how do you flare when everything's white around you?
I don't know.
That's weird.
I don't know. Anyway, he goes on, I also would like to add a little to the discussion about whether a wing part, such as the one probably from MH370, could not sink, but also not float on the surface. I think someone sent you some feedback regarding this, and I would just like to add that there are multiple factors involved. Temperature, currents, and one of the most contributing factors, salt. The amount of salt in different layers of depth in the sea can make something to be buoyant, for an example, 20 meters, but sink a little shallower. These layers of temperature, salt, and currents is actually something military submarines use to hide from sonar. So when I first heard about that piece floating to shore with all those shells, or barnacles, I guess, it totally made sense to me. I don't think it's a mystery. Okay. Good. Thank you, Jim, for that. And let's see. Question to all of you on today's show. If you could choose any co-pilot, living, dead, real, or not real, on a 12-hour flight, who would you choose? Wow.
Easy question.
Easy question.
Who would that be?
I'm taking Captain Jeff and Miami Rick.
Oh, you're awesome.
To be your co-pilot?
Yeah.
Oh.
Although I'll be flying, so it's you guys who are in for a rough 12 hours.
you were the
Good luck with that.
You were the captain, the pilot in command, driving the Jeep from Charlotte.
Yeah, you had to deal with that, so you can get through 12 hours.
That was awesome. That was such a great road trip. Loved it.
That's a good question. I have no idea. How about you, Rick?
Man, I would go with I'd probably go with Jim Lovell.
Okay.
You know.
Good answer.
I would go with, and I can't now, all of a sudden his name escapes me, but the guy that was the stunt pilot, and they just made a movie of him. I got the DVD right behind me, I think. Hang on.
How about you, Steffi?
I don't know.
Military
I
civilian.
don't have I don't have a good answer for this question.
I'll have to
So
edit.
seriously, I would take you guys because that would be fun.
Flying the Feathered Edge, Bob Hoover.
Oh, Bob Hoover.
Bob Hoover. Oh, nice.
Good
You
answer.
have him in the airplane as your co-pilot?
You know what? Yeah, Jim Lovell or Robin Olds. One of the two. Man, Robin Olds is a legend. You guys know who Robin Olds is?
No.
Nope.
He was a World War II ace and a Vietnam ace. He was the P-38 pilot, P-51 pilot, and F-4 Phantom pilot, legend in his own right. Just look up, and for you guys and gals in the chat room as well, look up Robin Olds on Wikipedia and YouTube and all that, and there's a great documentary on him. It's produced by the History Channel, and it walks you through an operation that was basically, he came up with his operation because back in Vietnam, apparently our aircraft were only allowed to fly into their bombing target area through this particular airway. And back in that mission, they were using F-105 Thunder Chiefs, which were not particularly good aircraft, kind of slow and sluggish. And so this guy came up with a plan of having the targeting pods that the F-105s were using fitted on F-4s to lure the MiG-15s and 17s up to meet them. And they shot them all down, save for one or two. And that was called Operation Bolo, and that was his brainchild. And that was basically what immortalized him. His last assignment was the commandant of the Air Force Academy in Colorado Springs, and he had a trademark handlebar mustache that he used to fly with, and he used that as a morale booster for his pilots back in Vietnam, and he would let all his pilots grow handlebar mustaches.
Oh.
And you would have liked him, Captain Jeff.
Yeah. Sounds like my kind of guy.
Great guy. Interesting guy.
You
So
want?
we'll just get those people together and I'll just take a flight together.
Yeah, really. I'm a legend in my own mind.
Mm.
Just kidding. Anyway, well, not really. He closes with "Fly Safe" and "Green." Of course, he wants me to play this, I'm sure.
Green. We're going green. We're gonna take care of
And
the earth.
again, that's
We're going green.
from Swedish Jim. Thank you, sir, for the great feedback. Always enjoy hearing from you. And that's where I'm going to cut it off, right there. That looks like doesn't look like a lot left. That's good.
No, you guys must have really done a good job last night.
Yeah, we knocked out a bunch.
We did.
Looks like we have a lot of good audio feedback coming up from Brad and from Stuart Aslett and from Controller Zach and Carl He and Micah and of course Old Dot Pilot. So stay tuned for the next installment of our live broadcast, which should be sometime on Wednesday.
Yep. You'll be you're coming through Miami tomorrow, right?
Yeah.
Okay. And where are you going to be on Wednesday?
Going to be back home on
Oh,
Wednesday.
back home. Okay, cool.
Yeah, get home in the afternoon, so it'll be late afternoon, early evening kind of thing. Maybe hopefully start around 5.
Okay, well, Santiago right now is an hour ahead still, so it'd be 6 for
That
me.
work out for you?
Oh, outstanding. Absolutely.
How about you, Steph? Are you going to be? You're not
Pretty
home.
close. I have a physical therapy appointment for myself at like, I don't even remember what time, 4:30.
Okay.
But I'll be home after that.
Maybe try to get it started by 6 or so again.
Yeah, I can probably do 6.
Probably do another hour and a half or so, and that should knock it out.
Perfect.
So that'll be perfect. Great.
Outstanding.
So those of you in the chat room, just kind of keep watching the Twitter feed and Facebook feed, and we'll have the link for the next one. Of course, it's just going to be what's this one, 18, so it'll be /19 or whatever. Crowdcast.cst.io/ what is this? Airline Pilot Guide?
Oh, I don't know. I don't have that link.
No.
No idea.
Let's see. Let me go to that page. Yeah, ccst.io/e/Airline Pilot Guide 19 will probably be the next show.
Yeah, I don't know where you're reading that. I've got a whole soup of letters up here that make no sense.
Yeah, that's okay. You don't need to know.
You don't need to know. You've got me.
You don't need to know.
We don't need to know, Rick. It's okay.
Just don't worry your pretty little heads about it.
Matt says, give us more notice next time. Matt, this is your notice.
Yeah.
This is your notice right now.
Notice right now, Matt.
Consider yourselves warned.
Say Matt's
APGers.
last name. Say Matt's last name. Rick.
Fabricius?
Fabricius?
Uh-huh.
Now I know how to pronounce it. He said something. He tweeted earlier today that.
Yeah, I saw that. Yeah.
Whatever, and Rick got his surname correct.
Boom.
Yeah.
Matty Fab. Got it. Nailed it.
Nice. That's what I say. Matty Fab. All right. Rebecca, hello. Just tuned in. Well, you just missed us, Rebecca. Maybe if you're hanging around on Wednesday about this time. Although, again, we'll try to end it right around this time on Wednesday as well, because I think the sign-in on Thursday morning is much earlier than tomorrow's sign-in for me. So.
Really?
Yeah.
Whoa.
So, yeah, there we go. Okay, well, thanks everyone for hanging out, and we'll see you on Wednesday.
It was a blast, everyone. Thank you so much. We'll see you all Wednesday. Stay safe. Be good. Woohoo. See ya.
Talk to you soon.
Bye-bye.